The White House Rose Garden on January 15th, 2026, sits under a sharp sun with temperatures near 38 degrees Fahrenheit, creating the ideal atmosphere for the upcoming events. The skies are completely clear with crisp air, the sort of Washington winter day that renders every detail sharp and undeniably real. There are no clouds or haze to obscure the view, offering only pure visibility as President Donald Trump takes his place at the podium. The presidential seal shines brightly in the winter light, while his blue suit looks impeccably tailored, likely a Brioni, paired with a red power tie that screams authority. His American flag lapel pin is slightly askew, but he is too focused on winning to care about such minor details, wearing that confident smile that suggests he holds a secret you do not possess. That specific expression has intimidated his opponents for 5 decades across both business and political landscapes, backed by the West Wing's classical white columns, which stand as a symbol of ultimate American power. Cameras are positioned everywhere, dozens more than usual, with every major network including CNN, Fox News, and even Al Jazeera sending full teams to capture the moment. The White House correspondents received an alert 90 minutes ago with a short message on official letterhead announcing a major press conference at 11 Hancock a.m. regarding Operation Clean Plate. The notice included a line that Representative Ilhan Omar would attend, a detail that immediately caught everyone's attention and signaled something significant was underway. Representative Ilhan Omar stands to the side about 15 feet from the podium, close enough to be filmed and to hear every word, awaiting what might be a humiliation. She is a Democrat from Minnesota's 5th District, a member of the Squad, a progressive icon, and the first Somali American ever elected to Congress. Today, she wears a navy blue hijab and a somber dark pantsuit, attempting to project confidence and strength, but failing as her hands clasp too tightly together. Her knuckles are turning slightly white, betraying the anxiety she feels after being invited as Minnesota's representative for a bipartisan show of concern regarding federal fraud. They told her office it was a standard event, where she would stand beside Trump, look concerned, and release a statement defending her community against attacks. She expects to call for due process and fairness while gathering clips for social media that CNN will love and AOC will retweet, completely unaware of the reality awaiting her. The press corps sits in neat rows with over 80 reporters, including big names from national newspapers and political blogs, all with their recording devices ready and red lights glowing. This broadcast is going out live on every network and streaming platform to millions of viewers, a number expected to rise to tens of millions within the hour. Trump steps up to the microphone and lowers it slightly, utilizing that familiar showman's pause he has perfected over thousands of rallies and television appearances. He knows exactly how to manipulate the camera to build suspense, allowing the anticipation to grow and the tension to rise before he finally speaks. Thank you all for being here today. He begins with a voice that carries strong and clear, noting the beautiful cold weather that offers a clarity synonymous with truth. He looks around and makes eye contact with individual reporters, knowing most by name as well as their biases, nodding slightly at the Fox News team who smile back, while the CNN crew looks away. We are here to announce Operation Clean Plate, a massive federal investigation involving the FBI, IRS, and Justice Department working in unison. This is the largest investigation in American history into welfare and pandemic fraud taking place right now in Minnesota, under everyone's noses for years. $1 billion has been stolen, that is billion with a B, and my investigators believe the total could be even higher, perhaps reaching $2 billion. This money was stolen from hungry American children, from taxpayers, and from hard-working families who pay their taxes honestly. And I want that number to sink in. Cameras zoom in on his serious presidential face, marking a shift from his rally persona to his role as commander-in-chief. I have invited Congresswoman Ilhan Omar here today, he says while gesturing to her, causing the cameras to pan immediately to catch her forced and uncomfortable smile in high definition. She represents the district where most of this fraud occurred, where criminals set up fake food sites and shell companies to claim they were feeding non-existent children. Hundreds of millions of dollars disappeared, while children went hungry and criminals bought mansions, luxury cars, and jewelry, and traveled to Dubai on taxpayer money. She also sponsored the Meals Act of 2020, the very legislation that enabled this fraud by weakening oversight and removing essential safeguards. Omar's smile falters for a second, and her lawyer standing behind her tenses up, realizing this is not the standard announcement they had discussed with the chief of staff. This situation is something else entirely, prompting Trump to continue in a casual voice that suggests he will ask some questions before the official statements begin. These are questions that the American people deserve answers to. Questions that have been ignored for too long because the media is too busy protecting her. He looks directly at the CNN correspondent, calling out their bias and refusal to ask hard questions on live television in front of millions. Omar's face is now neutral as she tries to hide her fear, her hands clasped tighter as her lawyer signals her not to engage, but it is too late to leave. Congresswoman Omar, thank you for being here today when you could have stayed in your office or sent an aide, which shows you are very brave. I respect that bravery, so let us have a real conversation about your Meals Act, the fraud it enabled, and the $1 billion that disappeared. We need to talk about your campaign official, who is now a convicted criminal, and the mysterious millions that appeared in your accounts from nowhere. Trump reaches under the podium and pulls out a thick folder organized with 6 colored tabs representing 6 different scandals, the kind of file lawyers use to destroy opponents. The CNN chief correspondent whispers urgently to her producer, asking if this is really happening. But the producer confirms they cannot cut away because he is the president. Fox News cameras zoom in on the folder, recognizing this as television gold that will drive their ratings to astronomical levels. Just so we are absolutely clear, Trump continues while tapping the folder. I am the president, and this is the people's house where I will ask the questions. You will answer them honestly under the eyes of the American people, and after we are done, you will have your chance to give your statement and defend yourself. That sounds fair because I am an extremely fair person, despite what people say, so let us begin. Omar opens her mouth to establish ground rules, but Trump holds up his hand firmly to assert his presidential authority, stating that he asks the questions first. First question, and listen carefully because this is the foundation of our discussion. Did you know when you passed the Meals Act of 2020 that it would enable the largest fraud in history? Did you know, yes or no, is a very simple question for you to answer right now. The Rose Garden erupts with shock and gasps as the president interrogates a sitting member of Congress on live television during a press conference. The CNN correspondent audibly expresses her disbelief, while the Fox News team barely contains their excitement, and MSNBC looks stricken as their icon is publicly cornered. There is nowhere to hide, because he is the president asking legitimate questions about documented fraud that the media refused to investigate years ago. Omar's jaw clenches with visible tension as she grinds her teeth, trying to control a mix of anger, fear, and panic fighting for dominance. Mr. President, she responds with a tight voice trained by years of politics, the fraud was committed by bad actors exploiting a program designed with good intentions. Stop right there, Trump interrupts firmly with the voice of a man who has commanded billions. That is a deflection and not a yes or no answer. I did not ask about good intentions or the pandemic. I asked if you knew your bill with your name on it would be used to steal. Did you know that would happen, yes or no? Because you only have two options to pick from. Omar tries another approach, stating she cannot be held personally responsible for criminals, but Trump cuts her off decisively, stating that counts as a no. You are saying you did not know your bill was badly written and lacked safeguards, which means you are incompetent for enabling $1 billion in fraud. Alternatively, it is a lie, meaning you knew exactly what would happen and let it occur because it benefited your community or you personally. We will figure out which one it is, because I have the FBI, IRS, and Treasury looking into this very thoroughly, and they always find the truth. Trump flips open the folder to the first blue tab containing the fraud section, revealing dozens of pages of reports and evidence ready to be used. Next question reads from a document concerning your campaign official and friend named Gwad Hashi, who worked on your campaigns and attended many events with you. You took many photos together, smiling and looking very close, so I assume you remember him quite well. That is good, because Gwad has been convicted in federal court after pleading guilty to stealing over $3 million in fraud using a fake food site. He claimed to feed 5,000 children a day who did not exist, stealing federal taxpayer money to spend on luxury goods and his lifestyle. Gwad is currently in federal prison where criminals belong. So my question is, did you know your friend was stealing from children? Cameras zoom in tight on Omar's face as the color drains from her complexion, shifting from healthy to an ash-gray color of fear. This is not just about the Meals Act anymore. It is about her personal corruption and every scandal Trump has documented in his folder. Mr. President? Her voice shakes as her training breaks down. I think we should follow proper procedure and allow law enforcement to handle this. I absolutely agree, Trump interrupts cheerfully, which is exactly why we are here making history with millions of Americans watching us right now. So answer the question, did you know your campaign official in your photos was stealing millions from American children? Yes or no? Silence fills the rose garden for 20 seconds, broken only by the clicking of cameras and the rustle of reporters shifting in their seats. The press corps finds the moment painful and brutal, like watching a slow-motion car crash. But no one can look away from the destruction. Omar says nothing because answering yes destroys her, and answering no admits incompetence, leaving her trapped in a terrible position. We will come back to that, Trump says casually. But first, I must share what my investigators and forensic accountants have found about your money. We found shocking things about how you and your husband went from broke to multimillionaires, and we have all the documentation to prove it. Trump spreads the folder open on the podium to reveal 6 colored tabs representing 6 major scandals that are documented and ready for prosecution. We are going to go through this systematically, presenting 6 federal crimes one by one, so the American people can judge the truth for themselves. Behind the press corps, an MSNBC producer panics on the phone, realizing there is no precedent for this kind of public exposure. At the end, America can decide if Ilhan Omar is a victim of racism, as she claims, or if she is a corrupt politician who enriches herself. Let us follow the facts together and see where the evidence leads us, as Omar looks frantically at her lawyer, who can do nothing to help her. She made a catastrophic mistake coming here, and President Trump knows he is about to make her pay for it publicly and devastatingly. Let me start with the numbers, Trump says, shifting his tone to that of a prosecutor, because numbers do not lie even when politicians do. CNN's correspondent whispers urgently into her phone asking for legal teams, but her producer confirms it is legal because she is there voluntarily. Trump pulls a document from the blue tab, an official Justice Department letter, and reads the details of the Meals Act introduced in April 2020. The bill was sponsored by you and passed to provide flexibility during the pandemic, a noble purpose on paper, but not in reality. Your bill massively weakened oversight and removed verification requirements, effectively telling people we would trust them with federal money with no questions asked. This created the biggest fraud opportunity in history, leading to feeding our future claiming millions of meals that never existed. Trump holds up a chart showing red bars and shocking numbers, revealing that $250 million have been proven stolen so far. Prosecutors think the real number is $1 billion or more, because the records were so poor, and that money went to criminals instead of children. There was no food and no children, just empty parking lots and fake addresses used to funnel money from Washington to bank accounts in Minneapolis. A reporter from Reuters tries to ask a question, but Trump waves her off, pulling out high-quality photos of the Safari restaurant in Minneapolis. The co-owner, a man named Abdul Qadir, was just convicted of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and laundering $70 million through this single location. Here is a video of you at that restaurant in the summer of 2020, smiling and handing out food while praising the program. You were promoting a restaurant that was committing massive fraud, and the man you stood beside is now in federal prison for stealing from children. Did you know, when you were smiling for the cameras, that the restaurant was part of a massive fraud scheme? Yes or no? Omar tries to deflect by mentioning she attended many events, but Trump cuts her off, stating she must either be lying or incompetent. Both options are disqualifying for a member of Congress, so he flips to another page to discuss her campaign official again. He holds up a large photo of Omar and Gawad smiling together at a victory party, noting that he was her ground game coordinator. While he was working on your campaign and organizing your voters, he was running a fake food site called Advance Youth Athletic Development. He claimed to feed 5,000 children a day, an industrial operation that did not exist, and stole over $3 million. He pleaded guilty and is serving his sentence, so I ask again, did you know your campaign official was stealing millions? Omar's lawyer steps forward, but Trump points at him to step back, insisting this is a conversation between him and the Congresswoman. Omar claims she returned the donations when she learned about the charges, prompting Trump to point out she only returned $7,000. You kept his support for nearly all the time he was stealing, and only returned the money after the indictment was made public. You call that accountability, but it looks like you enabled it with bad legislation and celebrated it at fraud sites until you got caught. That is the first scandal regarding the billion-dollar fraud, but now we must discuss your mysterious millions that appeared from nowhere. Trump flips to the red tab as the MSNBC correspondent looks devastated, and the Fox News team grins at the unfolding news cycle. Next up is your $30 million, Trump says with a smile, asking simply if she is a millionaire. Omar hesitates too long, which everyone notices, because she has previously stated in interviews that she is just a working mom with student debt. Trump holds up her 2023 financial disclosure showing a net worth under $250,000, consistent with a congressional salary. He then holds up her 2024 disclosure form, where her net worth has suddenly jumped to between $6 and $30 million in just 1 year. That kind of increase is not from investment returns. It is either magic or fraud, and I do not believe in magic. Fox News broadcasts the numbers on screen as Trump asks again if she is a millionaire, pointing out the contradiction with her previous statements. Omar tries to blame her husband's businesses, but Trump promises to address Tim Minette shortly before detailing the specific business anomalies. He pulls out a breakdown sheet showing a winery in California that went from being worth less than $50,000 to $5 million in a year. Real estate and businesses do not naturally increase in value by 100 times in 12 months, especially when investors are suing for fraud. Investors claim under oath they lost everything, yet your disclosure says it is worth millions, so someone is lying, and it is likely you. Trump moves to the second business, Rose Lake Capital, noting that court documents showed it had only $42 in the bank. Yet on your disclosure filed the same year, this company with $42 is listed as being worth up to $25 million. Explain to America how a bank account with lunch money becomes an asset worth millions unless someone deposited illegal funds into it. Omar has no explanation because the numbers speak for themselves, leading Trump to suggest she hid dirty money in her husband's businesses. Fox News displays the graphic comparing the court documents to her disclosure, creating a damning visual that leaves MSNBC looking ill. The final piece of this puzzle is that while these businesses were failing, your campaign paid them nearly $3 million. We will get to that next, but it seems your campaigns paid your husband's companies and then they magically became valuable. That is scandal number 2, the mysterious millions, where you went from broke to wealthy while investors sued for fraud. We are halfway through with 4 more scandals to go, including the payments to your husband, marriage fraud, anti-Semitism, and loyalty to Somalia. Trump checks his gold watch and notes they are moving faster now, bringing up Tim Minett and the payments made during their affair. He opens the yellow tab to reveal a stack of FEC filings showing exactly where every campaign dollar went. Tim Minett ran a consulting firm called E Street Group, and your campaign paid them nearly $3 million for one house race. That is far more than the average $2 million spent on an entire campaign, yet you paid that just to the firm run by your lover. The timeline shows you were traveling together to cities like Denver and Los Angeles, while his wife filed for divorce citing your relationship. Trump holds up the divorce petition, where Beth Minett names you specifically as the reason her marriage ended, a fact that is now public record. While this affair was happening and his wife was filing papers, your campaign was paying his firm hundreds of thousands of dollars month after month. You won your seat easily without real competition, yet you paid millions, which suggests this was hush money rather than consulting fees. Did you pay Tim Minett millions to keep him quiet about the affair? Yes or no? Because the amount is incredibly suspicious. Omar tries to defend the payments as legitimate services, but Trump demands a simple answer regarding the motive behind the millions. After the scandal broke, you cut ties with the firm for optics, but then married him months later, and his businesses became worth millions. That looks like money laundering and campaign finance fraud rather than love. Which brings us to scandal number 4, regarding Ahmed Noor Saeed Elmi. You married Elmi in 2009, but educational records show his father has the exact same name as your father. You also lived at the same address with your previous partner, Elmi, and yourself, which is not normal behavior. You filed joint tax returns with Hirsi while legally married to Elmi, which constitutes federal tax fraud and is a crime. Investigators believe you married Elmi for immigration fraud to help a relative, and you refused a DNA test because you know it is true. Trump shifts to Scandal 5, citing her visit to Columbia University, where she called Jewish students pro-genocide during protests. You have voted against the Iron Dome and spread rhetoric that makes American Jews feel unsafe, which is why there was a resolution to censure you. Trump leans forward and asks simply if Israel has a right to exist, but Omar refuses to answer, and her silence speaks volumes. Finally, regarding your speech to Somali Americans, You called Somalia your home and opposed U.S. recognition of Somaliland to protect Somali interests. You work with organizations tied to Hamas, and now the Treasury is investigating if fraud money from Minnesota funded terrorists in Somalia. If money meant for American children went to al-Shabaab, and you knew, that is treason, and my FBI director is personally investigating it. 3 hours later, the press conference still dominates the news, and Democratic leadership eventually abandons her to face the allegations alone. Within 24 hours, multiple federal investigations are announced, and the real impact is felt by the teachers and citizens in Minneapolis who were cheated. 2 weeks later, Omar announces she will not seek re-election, effectively ending her career under the weight of overwhelming evidence and truth. Trump holds a follow-up press conference stating he took no pleasure in it, but had to expose the corruption that others ignored. This story matters because it shows how identity politics was used as a shield until President Trump tore it down with facts in the Rose Garden. If you found satisfaction in seeing corruption exposed, like and share this story so others can see how justice was finally served. The swamp is deep, but we are draining it one corrupt politician at a time. So subscribe for more truth.